All right, thank you, Hezekiah. Welcome, everybody. Uh, this is driver safety training. As Hezekiah mentioned, we'll be going over multiple topics. Let's go ahead and get it started with policies and procedures. Every organization should have a transportation policy that outlines the organization's policies and procedures. Make sure each driver reads, understands the transportation policy. That way there's no outlining questions, what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to do it. It is recommended that an MVR check be done upon hiring process, and follow-up checks are recommended biannually for drivers over 25 and triannually for drivers 25 and under. One of the most important things when we're talking about transportation is knowing your drivers. When you hire on a driver, you want to ask some informative questions about their driving experience. Like, how many years of experience do you have driving? What do you like most about driving? How would you rate your driving ability and experiences? Know your new hires' experience. Fit their vehicle assignments accordingly. So you don't want to put somebody in a big bus that has only driven maybe a little sports car or a little bug vehicle. So you want to ask the drivers, what type of vehicles have you driven? Are there any vehicles you are worried about driving? Are there any limitations, such as your feet can't touch the pedals, can't see over the steering wheel, mirrors can't adjust for safe coverage? There's some important issues to make sure that you go over with your drivers. You want to test your driver's vehicle capability. So you don't want to, throw them in the vehicle and have them drive the vehicle until you tested them in the vehicle. So some factors to take into consideration: can the driver safely back up the vehicle? Does the driver use the mirrors or know how to use the mirrors properly? Can the driver maneuver the vehicle safely? Does the driver make safe turns? Driver making safe turns can be different from replacing tires every 2 to 3 years or every 6 months. Can drivers stop the vehicle without slamming on the brakes? So does the driver know how to judge their stopping distance? The heavier the vehicle is, the longer the stopping distance radius is. You want to also get plenty of feedback from your drivers. You want to ask your drivers, what did they like about the vehicle? What didn't they like about the vehicle? Did you feel comfortable driving the vehicle? Is there anything that you feel would be needed for you to drive the vehicle? Any special accommodations?
Because I unmuted you.
Will need to be made in order for them to drive that vehicle you're asking them to drive. Another important factor is how drivers should manage vehicle issues. So if there's an issue with a vehicle, your drivers should know who to go to if there is an issue with the vehicle. Vehicles prior to leaving your site, they should let the fleet manager or supervisor know immediately and request a different vehicle. If there's a problem while off-site, the driver should know to pull over to a safe location, call fleet manager or supervisor, and explain the issues and let them provide a solution for the issue that's going on. So just to recap, know your drivers. When you hire a driver, ask informative questions. Test your drivers. Drivers need to know to let their supervisors know if there's an issue at any times. If a driver hasn't driven the vehicle, make sure they're tested and comfortable driving the vehicle. And you always want to get honest feedback from your drivers. Make sure your drivers are comfortable with you enough to get honest feedback. One of the biggest things drivers should be doing on a daily basis is their pre-trip inspection checklist. I have provided a sample of what I use. So it's just all your basics, your oil level change. You want to check your oil levels. You want to check all your basics, your headlights, your turn signals. Make sure there's no lights on the dashboard that shouldn't be on. Make sure your glass is in good condition. Your mirrors are working properly. Emergency brake is working properly. Then you want to make sure all your safety features are on your vehicle. Your first aid kits, your road triangles. You want to make sure your bloodborne pathogen kits, your fire extinguishers. Make sure all that is on the vehicle and operational and ready to go if needed. And then when your driver returns with the vehicle, they want to make sure they do a post-trip inspection. They want to make sure that nothing happened while they were out on a trip or pickup or drop off. You know, check for any leaks. Make sure your tires still look good. Make sure the headlights and turn signals still work. Make sure that all the emergency equipment is still operational. If they use the emergency equipment at any point while they're out, they should know enough to let their supervisor or fleet manager know, hey, this item was used, we might need to replace it. So your drivers want to know their vehicles, want to know how to use the equipment on their vehicles, such as, you know, how to turn their headlights on. Not every vehicle turns the headlights on the same way. Some vehicles turn on a little switch on the dashboard. Some turn on the same wand as the windshield wipers. How do they turn the windshield wipers on? Again, not every vehicle is the same with the windshield wipers. Adjusting the mirrors. Do they know how to adjust the mirrors properly? Do they know which button goes to which mirror? That's an important thing to make sure they are getting a safe radius in their mirrors. How to turn on their hazard lights. The hazard button is placed in different places on all vehicles. How to set the emergency brake. The location of the gas tank. I'm always surprised how many people don't know how to find where the gas tank is located. So if you're just getting a vehicle first time, never filled gas up, look at your dashboard. Look at the side of the vehicle that the arrow on your gas gauge is pointing to. That'll tell you where your gas pump is located, or gas tank is located. That way, you know you're pulling up to the right side of the gas pump at the gas station. Want to make sure that your lights are working, your brake lights are working, your backup lights are working. You want to make sure that all of your headlights, tail lights, all lights are working properly. Test your turn signals out. Test your four-way flashers. Make sure everything's working. You also want to check your tire pressure. This time of year, people are noticing the temperature is starting to fluctuate. It can be cold in the morning and warm during the day. Just because your air pressure light came on in the morning doesn't necessarily mean you need to go and pump a lot of air into it. Your light can come on first thing in the morning when it's 40 degrees, and then it'll be 60 degrees by afternoon and the light will go off. One of the things you want to be most careful on that is overinflating your tires. If you overinflate your tires, you have a chance of a blowout, and you also can wear down the very middle of the tire. What you're seeing on the screen right now is some diagrams of what can happen in different scenarios with your tires. If your tire is underinflated, you're going to wear down the outer edges of your tires faster. As I stated a moment ago, if it's overinflated, you're going to wear down the center of the tire faster. If you have an alignment problem, you can see how the tire is bowed to one side. If you have failed shocks or struts, this is a huge indicator that you need to get your shocks and struts replaced as soon as possible. Know your vehicle. You want to know your vehicle's height. Never attempt to go into a parking garage or under a bridge if you don't know the height of your vehicle. I recommend everybody either putting the height of the vehicle on your visor or somewhere on your windshield. That way the driver will be able to see it and know what the height of the vehicle is. Know your turning radius. Not every vehicle has the same turning radius. If your driver knows the proper turning radius for that vehicle, they can save themselves a lot of hassle. They will save themselves from bumping curves, going over curves. In the long run, that's going to save your organization a lot of money just on tires alone. Next slide. Again, knowing your vehicle. So you want to know, does your vehicle have a backup camera? Does your driver know how to use the backup camera? Can they safely navigate using the backup camera? Test them on it. Make sure they're comfortable using backup cameras if the vehicles have backup cameras. And make sure if the vehicle doesn't have backup cameras, you test them on using the mirrors. Are they able to make turns and back up properly using the mirrors? Make sure your drivers are 100% sold on using seatbelts at all times. Seatbelts are so important, not only for the driver, but for the passengers as well. It keeps everybody on the vehicle or driving the vehicle safe. Know the stopping radius. As you see on the screen here, we have some snow. I mean, here in Arizona, we might not see this, but there could be rain as well. Some of the roads that are freshly paved can be slick from oil. So your driver should know what the stopping radius is in any driving condition. Now we're going to move on to adequate rest. It is recommended that drivers are given at least 10 hours from the end of their shift to the beginning of their shift to rest up. This will help your driver refresh mentally and physically and be ready for the next day. Drivers should be given a resting point throughout the day to refresh as well. So you don't ask a driver to drive 10 hours straight without a break. Don't ask a driver to drive 12 hours straight without a break. At that point, you're asking for dangerous situations to occur or happen. You want to always plan your drive ahead. It's always best to plan for any drive, whether it's short drive or a long drive. Give yourself time to adjust for heavy traffic conditions or closed roads. As you see in a valley, there's accidents constantly in the valley that could hold you up in traffic, block the way of traffic. And then, you know, God forbid there's a fatality. The road be shut down for up to 6 hours. So you always want to check your traffic conditions before you leave. Make alternate routes if possible. Avoid letting traffic turn you into an aggressive driver. Distracted driving. The longer the commute and an increased heavy traffic, the availability in the vehicle technology are all factors that can result in being a distracted driver. So your driver shouldn't be concentrating on what's on the radio. They should be concentrating on the task at hand, driving and getting their passengers to the safe point. Countless distractions can tempt the drivers to forget that their primary responsibility is to drive and drive safe. Distracted driving is estimated to be a factor in between 25 to 30% of all traffic crashes. That's 4,000 or more crashes a day. Events inside and outside the vehicle can distract the driver. Adverse roadway and weather conditions require drivers' full attention at all times. While taking one's eyes off the road presents an obvious risk, activities that take the driver's mind away from the driving can also be a risk. So if a driver is coming in with a lot of stuff on their mind Ask them to, calmly refresh, relax themselves before they get out and drive. That way their mind is clear and they're going to be driving safe. Excuse me. A driver's ability to manage distractions varies widely and can change from day to day depending on the level of stress and fatigue the driver is under. Distracted drivers fail to recognize potential hazards in the road and react more slowly to traffic conditions, decreasing their margin of safety. Research suggests that distracted driving increases the risk of rear-end and single vehicle crashes. Do you know when you're driving distracted? Has a passenger in your car screamed or gasped because of something you did or did not do? Did somebody give you the mother arm across, hey, whoa, what's going on? Did you almost hit another vehicle? Did you make a turn too fast because you almost missed your turn? These are signs of distracted driving. Did you run a stop sign unintentionally? Were you looking in the mirror, talking to someone in the back seat? Were you turning the radio station? Were you daydreaming about something that's going to happen later in the day? This is another sign of distracted driving. Have you slammed on your brakes because you didn't see the car in front of you stop? You could have been texting. You could have been putting on makeup. You could have been eating. You could have been changing the radio station. You could have been picking up something you dropped on the floor. These are all signs of distracted driving. You do not remember driving from one place to another. Big sign of distracted driving. Are you driving without sleeping or not enough sleep? Did you come to work sick or ill that day? Are you on any kind of medication that makes you drowsy? Are you under too much stress? Were you talking on your phone? These are all cases that lead to distracted driving. Has a driver honked their horn at you? Light turns green, but you don't move. You swerved into another lane. You forget to turn your lights on. You don't use your turn signals. You're driving under the speed limit. Again, all signs of distracted driving. One of the big ones, did you miss your turn? Because you were talking on the phone, texting, eating, daydreaming, or just lack of sleep? Have you forgotten where you were going? Lack of sleep or rest is a contributing factor to this. Are you stressed out? Again, sick or ill, on medication. This also could be a possible sign of Alzheimer's or dementia. If you're driving and you're constantly forgetting where you're going, it's a good idea to see your doctor and get tested. So just to recap, do you know when you're driving distracted? A passenger, gasps and like, hey, what's going on? Did you forget where you're going? Did you miss your turn? As other drivers honk their horns at you, you don't remember going from one place to another. These are all signs of distracted driving, something that you should be aware of as you're driving. So we always want to focus on driving safe, stay safe, avoid distracted driving. Safe driving practices require that you are constantly scanning the roadway ahead for situations that could require you to take action. So always keep your eyes on the horizon, see what's in front of you. That way there's no surprises. Always be alert what other drivers are doing. You can count on your driving, but you can't always count on what other drivers are doing. So be alert and keep your eyes open what other drivers are doing. That way you have enough time to slam on the brakes if you need to, or get out of the lane if you need to. Recognize that driving requires your full attention at all times. Did you know that even the most routine activities are potentially distractive while driving? So the national survey revealed that these activities distract most of the drivers. So if you look on this, talking to other passengers, 97% of drivers admit talking to other passengers while driving. Looking at your text on your cell phone, 95% of drivers admit to doing this. Adjusting vehicles' climate or radio controls, 90%. So as you see, you scroll down, I mean, there's a lot of areas where people get distracted with driving. Something as little as, grooming, putting on your makeup, combing your hair or brushing your hair while driving. That's considered distracted driving. So you want to try to avoid these activities that people sometimes don't consider distracted driving, but they actually are distracted driving. As a driver, your number one responsibility is to get yourself and your passengers to the destination safely. When behind the wheel, you always need to be alert and focused. At 55 miles an hour, a vehicle travels the length of a football field in 3.7 seconds. That just gives you an idea of, staying alert and what it takes to slow your vehicle down if you have to. This is no time for a mini snooze. Being an attentive driver and looking out for other drivers who aren't as attentive as you are is very important. So we always want to drive focused and stay safe. Just some safety facts on the road. Drowsy driving causes more than 100,000 crashes each year, resulting in 40,000 injuries and 1,550 deaths. Crashes caused by drowsy driving are often serious crashes and occur most often on high-speed rural highways when drivers are alone. Drowsy driving can happen anytime. A recent National Sleep Foundation study revealed that 51% of adults have driven while drowsy. 17% report having fallen asleep while driving in the past year. That's scary to think about. 17% of people admit to falling asleep while driving. Be aware of your behavior and behavior of others on the road during the late night, early morning, and mid-afternoon hours when drowsy driving crashes are most likely to occur. Plan a rest stop during these hours. So if you're driving, across country, plan your rest stop. Make sure that you're getting yourself enough sleep and rest, and you're not just trying to gung-ho it through. Get a full night's rest before driving. If you become tired while driving, stop. Take a short nap. 15 to 45 minutes could be enough to refresh your mind and body. Consuming caffeine can also help temporarily. Stop at regular intervals when you're driving long distance. Get out, stretch your legs, take a brisk walk, refresh your body and your mind. Set a realistic goal for the number of miles you want to drive safely each day. Avoid taking any medication that could cause drowsiness. Do you know when you're driving drowsy? Some warning signs of drowsiness or fatigue. You can't remember the last few miles driven. You hit a rumble strip or drift from one lane to the other. Your thoughts are wandering and disconnected. You keep yawning repeatedly. You have difficulty focusing or keeping your eyes open. You tailgate or miss traffic signs. You have trouble keeping your head up. You keep pulling your vehicle back into the lane. If you're tired and are in danger of falling asleep, then you can't predict what's going to happen or occur. A driver can't react on the road as quickly when they're tired. So getting enough sleep will help you drive safe and stay safe. Impaired driving. On our congested roadways, it's more important than ever to drive with a clear head and sharp focus. Make it a life-governing rule not to drive when you had too much to drink, or if you're on a medication. On average, a driver makes over 200 decisions per mile. So it's critical that the driver makes the decision to drive alert before getting behind the wheel. Not only will you be a safer driver, but you will be in a much better position to defend yourself from drivers who don't make the same right choices. So always drive, focus, stay safe. Just some safety facts for the road. Alcohol impaired driving accounts for about 40% of all fatal crashes. About 3 in every 10 Americans will be involved in an alcohol-related crash at some point in their life. Research shows that alcohol is a contributing factor in 39% of all work-related traffic crashes. 9 out of 10 insurance companies automatically cancel the policy of a driver convicted of a DWI or DUI violation. Consequently, the driver must find a high-risk insurance company and face substantial rate increases. Nearly 1.5 million people are arrested each year for driving while intoxicated. 2/3 of all drivers arrested for DWI are first-time offenders. A DWI or DUI conviction on one person's driving record may prevent them from getting a job, receiving a promotion, and even result in a job loss. Many companies have corrective action programs that suspend companies' driving privileges for DUI and DWI, but a majority of the companies, you get a DUI or DWI, they're going to release you from your job, because at that point you become a high risk. Alcohol involvement is highest at night between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. on weekends and on holidays. Driving skills, especially judgment, are impaired in most people long before they exhibit any visual signs of being drunk. Celebrations are a part of our lives, and sometimes they include alcohol. They should not, however, involve impaired driving. So if you're gonna drink, don't drive. Give your keys up. Decide who is the designated driver before the party starts. Be the kind of coworker who will take the keys if someone has too much to drink. If you are impaired, make the safe choice to take a taxi cab, an Uber, or a Lyft. This could save you thousands of dollars in the long run. Can you spot an impaired driver on the road? Drivers under the influence of alcohol or drugs often display certain characteristic behaviors. Keep these in mind to avoid dangerous situations. If you see someone weaving, swerving, drifting, or straddling the center line, they're probably impaired. Driving on the wrong side of the road. Here in Arizona, we've been having so many of these wrong way drivers lately. And so far, 95% of them have all been under the influence. Driving at a very slow speed. Stopping without cause or braking erratically. Turning abruptly and responding slowly to traffic signals. Driving with the window down in cold weather. Driving with headlights off at night. If you spot an impaired driver, stay a safe distance from the vehicle and alert police if you can. Now we're talking about aggressive driving. As many of you know, our roads get congested at times, and we see the aggressive driving come out in people. As traffic congestion continues to grow, motorists commuting to and from work and traveling from business purposes often find themselves caught up in a bottleneck and significant delays, wasting time and reducing their productivity. This situation creates a high level of frustration and can spark aggressive driving among these overwhelmed drivers. To protect against aggressive driving, remember that your primary responsibility is to drive, focus, and stay safe. So take a deep breath. Don't let the bottleneck traffic or an accident with traffic backup stress you out. Just try to do your best to just take a deep breath and relax. So when you drive, focus, stay safe, avoid aggressive driving. Correct your own unsafe driving habits that are likely to endanger, antagonize, or provoke other drivers. So if you're one to scream out your window for people to get moving, try to rethink that, because that's only going to provoke other drivers to respond harshly back to you. Keep your cool in traffic. Be patient and courteous to other drivers, and take and don't take their actions personally. You know, if someone's honking at you, you know, don't take it personally. They're in the same situation where you are. They're frustrated. They want to get to where they're going. If you think you have a problem, seek help. Look for an anger or stress management class that can help you work on your stress and anger. Reduce your stress on the road by allowing plenty of time to reach your destination. Plan your route in advance and alter your schedule or route if you know that the roads are going to be busy, or if you see there's an accident prior to leaving. If despite all planning, you're going to arrive late, accept it, and just avoid the aggressive driving. I mean, most of our drivers are paid, you know, hourly, so there's no hurry for them to get to where they're going. So they should just relax, take a deep breath, and just ride it out. Make every attempt to safely move out of an aggressive driver's way. So if somebody is tailgating you, honking their horn, you know, probably a smart idea is just to get out of the way and let them pass. If a hostile motorist tries to pick a fight with you, don't make eye contact, avoid them, ignore gestures, and refuse to return them to them. Report aggressive driving to the police. So if you're stuck there in traffic and there's an aggressive driver, you know, giving you a lot of problems, you know, pick up the phone, call the police. You're probably at a stop point at that point anyway, so it's a safe time to make your call to the police. Are you just driving like everyone else, or are you driving aggressively? So look, some of these statistics here show that people admit to driving aggressively. Tailgating, the cause of 80% of all crashes. 96% of people admit to tailgating. You know, going on making rude gestures. I mean, 90% of people admit to making rude gestures. Honking the horn, you know, double parking. All these things are signs of aggressive driving. And, you know, as you can see on the screen, a lot of people, you know, admit to doing these things. So let's not have you be one of these situations. So if we can avoid admitting to doing these and not doing them, we'd be better off overall. So now once you get to your destination, one of the biggest things people forget is parking. So if you're driving a vehicle with a handicap plate or placard, unload your passengers, then proceed to park your vehicle in designated spot. Whether it's in a handicap parking space, if there's no handicap parking space available, you want to think where the proper place is to park your vehicle. So when parking in a regular parking spot, you want to give yourself an out. What that means is you want to pull through a parking spot. That way your nose is facing your exit point. That way you don't have to worry about backing your vehicle up and possibly hitting another vehicle. If you can't find a spot where you can pull straight into, it's recommended that you back your vehicle into a space.
No, what happened?
Yourself, you know, the appropriate out. By backing your vehicle into a space in a crowded parking lot allows you to pull straight out without worrying about, you know, anybody behind you. This can make your exiting point a lot easier. So as we discussed earlier, your pre-trip and post-trip inspections. So what I do is I give my drivers a little bit of a test out on the road. So I take them out for a drive. I have them go through the pre-trip inspection first, make sure they're doing everything properly on the pre-trip inspection. This here is just a sample of my test that I give my drivers. After you've gone through the pre-trip inspection, while you're out on the road, I go over vehicle and operations. So, you know, has your driver been briefed on who to call if they have a breakdown or a flat tire? Does your driver know how to use a gas card if your company uses the gas card? You know, does your driver know where the gas tank is located on the vehicle? Can your driver locate safety equipment and know how to use it? Driver knows how to use all controls properly. Driver knows the clearance height of your vehicle. Again, like I said, I recommend putting it on the sun visor or somewhere on the dashboard or windshield. Does your driver know where the insurance and registration is located for the vehicle? Can the driver assist participants in and out of the vehicles as needed? Can the driver properly use the lift if your vehicle has a lift? Does your driver know how to properly tie down wheelchairs on lift vehicles? Does your driver fill out a daily van log in its entirety properly? Has your driver received first aid and CPR? And then when you get back to your location, make sure your driver knows the post-trip inspection as well. Does your driver finish filling out the daily van log? Does your driver park the vehicle in an appropriate spot? Does your driver leave trash and stuff left behind in the vehicle? Does your driver sanitize the vehicle after doing the vehicle sweeps? Does your driver complete visual inspection of the vehicle and sign off post-trip inspection? So make sure your drivers are doing that visual inspection of your vehicles, because you don't know, you leave the vehicle and come back to the vehicle if another vehicle has, inadvertently hit your vehicle or scratched your vehicle or done some kind of damage to your vehicle. And if your organization has a MAG vehicle and an accident happens out there, that's something you need to report. And you want to make sure that your drivers are aware of everything that's happening to the vehicles while you're out. So I have an example of some driver PPE and COVID-19 best practices. This is what I use here at STARS. So I'll go over it real briefly with you. So STARS vehicle sanitation policy. STARS sanitizes the vehicles daily in accordance with guidelines provided by the federal and state agencies. Driver will clean vehicles prior to start of transportation route. Driver will leave the doors and windows open while cleaning. Some of the cleaning agents can have fumes, so you want to make sure you're getting plenty of ventilation in the vehicles. That way there's no leftover fumes or smells when you finish cleaning. When cleaning the vehicle, drivers will wear disposable gowns, gloves, face shield, and mask. Driver will use products that are EPA approved. Driver will clean all touch points in the vehicle, like your steering wheel, shifting. Want to make sure the seat belts are touched. Anywhere that your driver touches or the passengers touch, you want to make sure those touch points are always being sanitized. Driver will discard gloves, clean face shield, and launder mask and gowns when done cleaning. Driver should repeat each of these steps for every trip made. Any questions?
Hi, I just want to thank Justin for this informative information. And we are open for questions. I just wanted to make a comment though, regarding the light indicator on your tires. I experienced this recently when we had the code section, and I was going to take my car in, but by the middle of the day, it went off. So that's really important.
Yeah.
And thank you you're saving me a trip to get my tires checked.
Well,
because I just had them checked.
No, Dee Dee, that's very important for everybody to know, because if you guys notice the weather for this upcoming weekend, it's going to dip down again. So just because your tire light comes on early morning doesn't mean you need to put air in your tires. So you want to avoid overinflating your tires, which can cause a blowout and cause wear and tear on your tires. So just be patient. If you know it's going to be cold for 2 or 3 days without a warm up, then you might want to put maybe 2 or 3 psi into the tire, but still be aware that you're not overinflating your tires. Monitor your tires after you put any air into them.
Does anybody have any questions? I also like to make a comment regarding the tire tread. That's a new addition to the presentation, and I think is very important to draw out, especially if we're driving in different areas with different, whether it be rain or snow. I know some agencies go up north. So the tire tread is really important to focus on, especially if it does rain. We want to make sure that we have enough tread on the tires at all times.
Definitely.
Justin, Jesus Diaz is asking, how many vehicles do you have in your fleet?
We have 13 vehicles in our fleet. We have our vehicles range from the Dodge minivans all the way up to the Star Tran buses.
And are all your vehicles in use at one time, or what percentage of your vehicles are in use? I mean, previously for all of this.
Previously, a majority of our vehicles were used throughout the day with outings and pickups and drop-offs.
Are there any questions? You can put them in your chat, or you can use the raise hand button if you'd like to ask a question. I appreciate the information that you gave regarding having the driver fit the vehicle. I know a lot of our subrecipients have different makes of vehicles. Some are the small transit, and some are the passenger, and some are the cutaways. Somebody of my stature would definitely not really do well in a cutaway, but I could probably do a minivan. So I like you bringing that up, and we all want to ensure that all of our drivers and all of our staff are comfortable and feel that they have that they're safe in the vehicle that they drive.
Yeah, and I actually ran into that situation where we had a part-time driver come in for our summer program to be a driver during the summer, and she never have driven one of the Star Tran buses before. And so the first thing I did was got her in the seat, made sure she was able to adjust the seat, because she was 4'7", a very tiny petite, and the seat wouldn't adjust enough for her to reach the pedals. So know your vehicles, know if your drivers are able to utilize the vehicle and drive the vehicle. If they can't, then you know they need to find a different vehicle for the driver to drive. You can't ask someone to drive a vehicle if they can't reach the pedals. or if they can't see over the steering wheel.
Definitely. And especially as we're coming up to the new application process, it's important to know which vehicles are needed in your fleet. So I think this is a great opportunity to do that. Do you have any suggestions regarding that?
Yeah, one of the basic suggestions is know what your needs are, how many wheelchairs you're going to have and need transportation for, and then you're going to know that if you're getting one of the Star Tran buses that fits 2 wheelchairs, you're going to need a driver that is capable of driving a vehicle that big. So you want to make sure that they're properly trained using that vehicle, they can drive the vehicle safely, and they know how to use all the safety equipment on that vehicle. And if you have a driver that can't fit all those items, then that driver needs to be reassigned a different vehicle until they can learn and be trained properly to use the vehicle. And if you have drivers who aren't capable of driving a vehicle that size, then you need to do some hiring to find a driver that is capable of driving a vehicle that size. Because not everybody's comfort level is the same. Some people might be scared to death to drive a vehicle that big, and you need to take that in account. Don't pass on a driver who's not comfortable driving that vehicle if you can put them in something else. But at the same time, you want to make sure you're hiring a driver that is comfortable driving that vehicle. That way, you're safe, all around. That's some good points. Thank you, Dee.
Thank you for that comment. I also have another, I know, I have another comment regarding first aid and CPR training. Do you do that in-house, or do you have somebody come in and do that?
Right now, all of our CPR and first aid is actually being done online through Training Venue. And then they actually go to a site to actually do the actual in-person test. But previously we would send them out to one of the CPR classes prior to hire and get that taken care of.
Well, that's great that you found something that you could do virtually, and then
yeah, Training Venue is a really good site. They have everything from CPR, first aid, the Article 9. They have everything on there, so it's a really good site for people to use.
Hi, Justin.
Yes.
Quick question, Danny Diaz from TCH. When you guys pass or fail drivers, do you give them the opportunity to either redo the test later, on a later date? For example, if we are driving with more than 1 or 2 drivers, you can tell the driver's either nervous about being watched or dealing with more drivers in the vehicle, just a comfort zone. And we give them the option to retake the test, and it's usually me who I'll drive with them solo. Do you guys do the same thing?
I do.
Yeah.
So what I do in that situation, if someone fails the test, I'll take them out one-on-one and get them some more practice, making sure they're identifying all the safety items that I'm asking them to identify while driving and driving safe. And I'll work with them to a point to where if after a couple times riding with them and getting them comfortable with driving the vehicle, if they still can't pass, then at that point it gets to a point where I start considering whether to release them. But I always try to, if I can, alter the vehicle. If the vehicle is an issue for them to drive, instead of getting rid of them, have them drive a different vehicle. If they're more comfortable with driving the Dodge minivan than they are driving the big bus, and that could still work for your organization, then that's an option. But if you have 1 or 2 drivers only, and your drivers need to be skilled on all vehicles, then that could cause an issue. And then at that point, you might want to look at finding another driver if you're only limited to 2 drivers.
Okay, and I have one more question. When it comes to do you have a time frame? Like, for example, if they're at risk and you totally don't agree that they can't drive again, do they have the option to come back a year later or something like that, or a time frame to possibly drive again?
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I don't bring drivers back. If I got rid of them for a reason, unless something drastically happens where you need a driver desperately, Me personally, I wouldn't bring them back because the likelihood of what you released them for changing within a year is not going to change.
Okay. What we do here is pretty much the same thing. If they're a risk, we won't hire them. For the drivers that we do have, we have something called recertification. And you know what? They've been driving for a while. They're driving good. What we recertify them was to make sure that they're using the equipment, of course, the straps, the seat belts and all that. And we do that annually for each driver. Do you guys do that also? Just
We
to
do.
make sure they know how to use the equipment annually. Because I got supervisors that are like, I forgot to do this. But
Yep.
let's do it again then.
Yes, we do that. We did on an annual basis here at STARS as well. And every driver must go through everything, including, how to use the lift properly, how to use the tie-downs properly, how to locate the med kit, the bloodborne pathogen kit, how to use the fire extinguisher properly. I go over all that.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? I think this is really informative information. And I think the bottom line regarding all of this is that we want the driver to be safe, and we want to provide all the tools necessary for that driver to be safe, and then know that there is support from the agency to get them to that point. You and Danny really brought out a really important point, is that you are working with your driver. These are the drivers that are taking your passengers, and you're trying to provide them all the information and all the resources. And then doing the testing, it just ensures that they understand and they comprehend the steps that they need to take. And a lot of times this may be really a little different than just hopping in the car and then, taking, a passenger to a destination. You're really representing your agency, and this is such good information to ensure everybody's safety.
Definitely.
Do you have any last words for our guests, our audience today?
I would just say always keep in mind that the proper training is the key to making sure your driver is doing what they're supposed to be doing, and that they're your passengers are in capable hands with a driver who knows how to drive safe, does drive safe, and knows if he doesn't drive safe, there's consequences for it.
Well, thank you for that lasting thought. And that is true. You're driving the most precious package for your agency and as a representative. Thank you everybody for today. Thank you, Justin, Ezekias. Thank you all for spending your time with us today. We know this is a difficult environment, and we want to keep bringing trainings and workshops that will help you do your job better and provide you some support. Again, if you have any questions after this, we're more than willing to have, if you want to email them, we can take them. Ezekias will be sending out a short survey. Please fill it out. And if you have any ideas for any other trainings or topics, please forward those too. Again, we appreciate everything that you do. We appreciate the time you spent with us. Thank you so much.